Everybody, good morning. Professional comic book art, our COVID-19 stay-at-home post-it pop art series. So I got a very light shade of gray post-it note. It almost looks white here on the camera, but it actually in real life is a very light shade of gray because today we're drawing Robocop. And you might remember him from the 1980s movies. And I think they also did a reboot movie not so long ago. So anyhow, I'm going to draw the classic 80s Robocop. And I really want to have room to play with those metal textures and effects, colors. So feel free to draw along. You're always welcome to draw along with me. Draw with whatever you have. You don't have to use a post-it note. If you don't have post-it notes, use your sketchbook, use your notepad, whatever you got that's appropriate to draw on, and use whatever tools you have. I'll share with you what tools I'm using as I go, but you use whatever you have on hand. Keep drawing no matter what tools you have, because as artists, we'll draw with whatever we can make a mark with. So number 2 lead pencil, mechanical pencil, ballpoint pen, it's all good. Just let's have fun, and maybe you'll pick up a tip or trick or two. I keep flubbing my lines every live stream. All right, enough of this. Let's flip the camera around and get to drawing. Clamp back in. Whoops. There we go. Adjust so I can see the comments and questions. I'll try to respond as I go. Readjust the light, and we are set to draw. All right, so starting with my pencil, you guys know what it is. The Unikuratoga 0.3 HB lead mechanical pencil. So I did pull up some photo reference of Robocop so I could get his details of his design as accurate as I can. I think this might be my first time drawing Robocop, or at least the first time I can remember. So he's definitely not a character I'm familiar with drawing on a regular basis. So we got that circle for the head. We're going to have him looking kind of off this way this time, as opposed to Optimus Prime yesterday. He was looking over this way. We're gonna have Robocop facing over this way. So then I bring side of his face down. Since we know the center line of his face, we know that's the chin right there. He's got a very square jaw because of the headgear. Halfway from the top of the head to the chin is the eye line. So we'll have his eyes right there. Now mind you, Robocop has a helmet on so we don't see his eyes, but I want to know where the eyes are. It's important for me to know where the eyes are, so I put his visor in the most accurate place. Nose line is roughly, I say about halfway from the eyes to the chin. Mouth line about halfway from the nose line to the chin. So knowing where the eyes are and where the nose is helps me build his helmet correctly. Even though this is covered up, I want to know where it is. This is an important step. You might think, oh, if you don't see it, you don't need to draw it. Well, I don't need to draw it in detail, but I do want to rough it in so that I know where to put the helmet so it fits correctly on his head. Otherwise, the shapes might not turn out right, and something will look too off. So let's see. Oh, and then we got his mouth. One thing about Robocop, and the same with like kind of the Michael Keaton Batman, the costume designs, especially of the late 80s, really made their lips kind of push out a bit, made them very pouty. Did y'all ever notice that? How Batman and Robocop, the first, or the Tim Burton Batman movies, the lips were very, very puckery, pouty. So I'm actually going to try to tap into a little bit of that just for nostalgia's sake. So I'm going to start to rough in the helmet here, so I know where the bottom of the helmet is, going right over the tip of the nose. And since I know where the eye line is, I can start to rough in where that visor would go, which would then be all blacked out with shiny white shines in it. And looking at my reference, I can see how many ridges there are. So that's like the full visor, then one across the forehead there, and then it curves around the top. And it kind of sticks away from his face a little bit. It's a bit bulky of a helmet. Bring it back for the back of the head. So it's kind of a dome. And then the ear, there's like an ear piece. It'll be kind of more of an oval because we're looking at it from an angle. Though if we were looking at it straight on, it would be more of a circle. Then he's got this black chin jaw guard thing. So it's like goes over his chin. So it's like comes down his jawline, which really squares out his jawline. And it runs over and up his face. Some of the muscle striations in the mouth that would come from the nose, jawline. Not that I'll actually ink those, but it's good to know where they are. So this is all from my photo reference, very shiny black. So we'll have some highlights in there. Those will come more to life as I ink. And he's got that same shiny, almost looks kind of like a latex. So we know where the neck is. I should rough in the neck first, down to the shoulders. And he's got that silver metal torso. These kind of little hoops here. A lot of the rendering will come in the color stage here. And he's got these little markings there on the side just above the ears. This is all black too. So there's going to be a lot of black here through his neck. If you just tuned in, welcome. Welcome. I'm drawing Robocop, the classic 80s version of Robocop. Probably the most recognized, most iconic look for him. Don't know if that reboot movie did so well. I don't know if they made any sequels, so it might have kind of come and gone. All right, so that gives us the basic pencils there. Just going to do straight up black inks. So I'm going to use my microns, the 08, the 01, and the 005. So let's start with the 08. We're just going to start dropping the inks. Just going to put the tiniest of ridges. It runs along the bottom there. Start getting that visor going. And across the top. And adjusting for a little bit of a ridge, just very subtly, separating that kind of this chunk of his forehead with the top of his head. Now just big arc over the top of his head. So that takes care of his helmet. Then we can start to work on his face. I'm going to start with the jawline, keeping that jaw really square. Keeping in mind this is going to be a lot of heavy blacks with shiny latex looking shines. Right now I just want to get the basic shape. Kind of the back of his neck, and we're going to have some ridges of how the latex kind of wrinkles and crinkles around his neck. A lot of blacks are going to come in here just a little bit. See these hoops here overlap, so I'm going to take care of that in the foreground. And then the trim that runs around the edges of the top part of his armored body. Take care of the other side. And the other side hoops. Kind of overlapping. A little buckle shape there, a little bit of a shoulder there. Let's finish off some of the neck wrinkles. Okay. Like I said, we'll be coming in with some black, heavy blacks here in a little bit, but we still want to have some more contours here to drop in. Okay, and then let's see, looking at my reference, we have a black right there, fades to a white, fades back to black, so it has like a shine there. A little shine in the center. More black. Another little open area there. And let's see, I'm going to switch to the 0.1 micron for some of the finer details, like this earpiece section. It's a series of ovals inside of ovals. To create some depth there, the trim, the ridges. And we have these little markings here on the side of his helmet. Now we can't really see his nose, but sometimes at a certain angle you can kind of see where the nostrils are, so I'm just putting just the subtlest shadow lines there. As we move to these pouty lips. Robopout. I'm not going to draw in every line. I'm going to use some of the color to help convey that. So I'm just doing more of the bottom part of the top lip and then the bottom lip there. His helmet really pooched out his lips there. Draw a little bit of the jawline. A little pull from the nose. A little muscle that runs from the nose down the face there. Put a little bit of a darker line here to indicate that shadow that the helmet is putting on his face. Now, what I want to do is I want to erase before filling in these blacks because it just works better. It's just safer, minimizes the risk of smudging. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase. I'm using a Staedtler Mars plastic eraser. Sometimes I use my kneaded art gum eraser. This one just happened to be right there handy, so I just grab this one and then just gently erase those pencil lines. Okay, now I want to come in and drop in these black, drop in all the black here. Now I'm going to go back with my pencil and looking at my photo reference, I'm just going to kind of put in these areas that seem to be the white highlight that kind of runs through here. I'm going to take some artistic liberties as well. I'm going to run this white highlight around here to create a ridge for the bottom of his chin and jaw so we don't lose that delineation of jaw and neck. And then it looks like we have some spots that kind of run through here. So this kind of gives me a guideline. So a lot of highlights on these wrinkles. I'll probably come in with a white gel pen to add some highlights to the chin guard here. So now I want to take my zebra using the zebra brush pen. I can just use it to start to put in the heavier blacks, but leave the paper open for some of those brighter highlights. Get that shiny latex look. I'll be filled in all black here in a moment. So I'm keeping in mind how this latex kind of bunches up around his neck, where the highlight is. So I can have those open areas amidst the heavy black, chunky black areas. Go ahead and fill in these parts of his visor now. And fill in the rest of his chin there. All right. So we can start putting in some skin tones. So He's pretty fair complected, so I'll start with the E00. Since this is a fairly light paper, light colored paper, it's almost like white. It's a light gray. I'm just going to come in here and start sculpting out the shapes and angles of his face. Little E00. Going to come in with some R11. It's a little bit more of a pink, just to keep that fair complected look. Use it through the lips right here. Maybe come in with a little E11. Not too much though, that was actually too dark of a shade, so I didn't want to use too much of that. Just a little R20, a little bit here on the lips, just a little bit. Don't want too bright of a pink. So that's good enough there for his lips. We're going to use a lot of cool and neutral grays here for his armor, maybe even a little bit of warm gray. So I'm looking at my reference, looking at where the highlights are and where there's darker gray and where there is lighter gray. So I'm going to start kind of light and then add darker grays as I need to. So let's start with a cool gray 2. Anywhere where there's like almost a white or a very light gray to his armor, I'm going to leave that part open. Studying the shapes here. So we got the forehead to another section of highlight. Then through his body armor there. This is just stage 1. There's going to be a lot of shades of gray and maybe even some other colors that will be worked into here. So let's come in with a little bit of a darker gray at the forehead, on the side of his head. Underneath those hoops there would be more of a shadow. Maybe pulling this right down through there. So looking at photo reference can really kind of help you see how to render something. It's like, oh, well, there's these color shapes. You kind of have to break it down bit by bit. I'm going to come in with some neutral gray. Let's go with some neutral gray 2. Just kind of mix up the grays here a little bit, you know, bring in some other shades or different types of gray to create different metal experience, texture, vibe. Some neutral gray 1, a lighter shade to kind of start blending some of this together. So it's really just a process here, a process of layering in color. And a lot of this for me is just experimenting. This is my first time drawing Robocop that I can remember. So a lot of these characters I've been drawing on my live streams have been first time characters. But you see, just bit by bit, just have to layer it in by bit by bit. I'm seeing a little bit of blue, so I'm going to add a little blue here. I'm going to start really light to begin with, so I'm going to add some B000, which might be a little too light here starting off. Yeah, I'm not getting enough blue there, so I'm going to bump that up to the B01 just to get some more blue in here. Mind you, I'm basing these color choices off the photo reference I'm looking at. So some of it is the lighting around him. You can see a very light shade of purple. I'm going to come in with some blue violet 1. Just to give a little more color and texture to the metal. A little V01. Just because they're probably reflecting a lot of the environment around him. And this might sound crazy, but I'm seeing it in this photo reference. A little bit of green. I'm going to put a little G04 through here on this side of him. Maybe just a little tiny bit over there. Obviously, there's something green in the world around him there that's causing this, there to be some green reflected in there. So I'm coming in with some neutral 0 now to kind of start blending this all these colors together and eating up a little bit more of that highlight real estate that I've left open. So I always like to use the lightest shade of whatever color, dominant color family I'm using to get the all the colors to blend together, as opposed to using a colorless blender. Not a big fan of using the colorless blender to blend my colors. So we've got to put a little color here in his, the reflection in his visor. I'm going to use a series of blues and grays. So a little B12. Just to give it a little more color, and then just a little bit of gray. We'll come in with some cool gray 3, I think, would be a nice shade. Now I need to put some grays in his skin tone. So cool gray 2, very heavy under this lip here, because that helmet's casting a shadow. So very heavy there. Underneath the lips, underneath the top lip, underneath the bottom lip. Pull it along that jawline there. From the shape of Peter Weller's face a little bit there at the corners of it, the mouth. That'll work. I'm going to come in with some neutral gray. Actually, I'm kind of seeing some blue reflected around him in certain parts. I'm actually going to drop in some blue in here. To also bring in a little more color. I could use a lot through here because I can come in with a white gel pen to put in some really bright colored latexy highlights. I'm going to put in a little more of that green because for some reason there's something green over here reflecting on them. So I'm going to put in a little green over here. So some G43, just a little bit. I'm going to color over some of this with neutral gray, neutral 4, to give it kind of a blackish blue vibe. And then we'll drop in a color fade here. I'm gonna go kind of dark here. Let's start with a neutral 7. We're almost going to kind of fade it a diagonal. Neutral 7 to a neutral 5. To a neutral 3. What I want to do, because we have some colors here in his helmet, we're going to drop a little color in this fade here. So a little green here, that green we were seeing reflected, some G40 here. And then that V01 for a little bit of that purple. He pulls some of that purple over here as well. And then come in with some neutral 1. To finish it out. Okay, so now I can take my Uniball Sigma white gel pen for my my make the character pop off the Post-it outline. Just bringing that line to the inked line, but not over the inked line. Don't want to lose the shape of the line width. The black inked line width. And then down over the shoulder, almost imperceptible, but we'll carry it through regardless. Now I'm going to put some of these bright white highlights here on the latexy part of his the black. It's not really a bodysuit. I guess it is kind of a bodysuit. So it's just it's definitely a more organic sort of shape because it bends with his body. Gives him, you know, that range of motion. So right along the wrinkles. So utilizing my photo reference as a guide, but then I'll make some stylistic choices as well. And some little highlights in his visor as well. I can take my micron and drop my name on here. And today's date is the 14th. There we go, Robocop. Not a character I often get to draw. This might be the first time I have ever drawn Robocop, and definitely a lot of fun. Definitely a fun challenge for sure, to try something new. Let's flip the camera around and we can wrap up this live stream. All right. Thanks for the kind words, everyone. So glad you enjoyed today's live stream. Hopefully you had fun and maybe learned a trick or two. So, yeah, I got one crazy hair there. What you doing, guy? Get back in place. Yeah, here we go. I'll have a shot of Robocop here on all my social media, and all the links to my social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc., are all listed below. And then I'll have a direct link to the image on my Instagram here to come shortly. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. If you like what you saw, please leave me a thumbs up. That's always appreciated. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please feel free to do so. Just hit that subscribe button, and then you can tap the bell to adjust your notifications to alert you to when I schedule new art live streams and upload new art videos. And feel free to leave a comment in the section below if you're watching on replay. To all you live viewers, thank you for all your comments here you posted during the live stream. And yeah, gang, I hope you're having a good time. Hopefully you're staying safe and well during this COVID-19 season. And yeah, I guess I'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern time. That would be 4 p.m. Greenwich time. For you international viewers, you can calculate your time zone from there. And yeah, so until I see you tomorrow, I'm Todd Nauck. Keep on drawing, keep having fun. Take care, everyone.